come back up. Just thought I would give you a warning in advance. This proposed local law amending Chapter 275, Section 275-17, to restrict the speed on Baptist Church Road between Hunter Brook Road and Baldwin Road. And Councilman Metz, who heads our Public Safety Committee, would you please give us some background on this?
Yes, this came to us through our traffic board in response to complaints from people who live on Baptist Church Road between Baldwin and Hunter Brook, basically with regard to cars speeding on that road. I just want to make clear that I think what we do tonight, and hopefully we'll adopt this law, is not the end of the process, but the beginning. We're going to continue to look at the road and see what else we can do. But the proposal here is to change the speed limit, which right now would be 30 miles an hour, to an area speed limit of 25 miles an hour. And just to make it clear, throughout the town, if you look at the code, Councilor Campisi and I were looking at it earlier, there are very few roads which actually have this road. It's a very narrowly, defined area that we would do this in. Generally, we put them on narrower roads, winding roads, things like that. Right now there's an existing, I've seen the signs over in Croton Heights, but if you look at the code, we've got them in the Crow Hill area. We've got them on Front Street, and believe it or not, we also have it on Veterans Road, although I don't know if there's a sign up there right now. There's also a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit by the community nursery school over there. But in any event, we're hoping that with this area speed limit, we might get people to slow down a bit on Baptist Church Road. As anybody knows, I mean, if there's a road in town that would be the wrong road to speed on, clearly it would be Baptist Church Road because it is a very winding road. So with that, I would also point out that at our traffic board, the proposal here was also unanimously recommended by the people on our board. So with that, I'll open it up to members of the public.
Do we have any comments? Is anybody here from the public who would like to comment on this public hearing? Gentlemen?
Are you going to enforce it?
You have to come over here, sir.
State your name.
Bob Mesker, I'm a resident on the road. I would like to know if you're going to enforce it.
Yes.
I mean, by my house, they come by there like they're on Watkins Glen.
Understood. It's a problem. You know what?
It's a real problem.
Your question's a totally legitimate question. It's a problem throughout the town.
Yeah.
And what we wind up doing is we wind up stationing police officers in those areas. They write tickets. We hope that it encourages people not to speed. And what will happen here is once the area speed limit is put in, tickets are going to be issued, and hopefully the message will start to sink in that you don't speed on that road. But to answer your question, it's going to take more enforcement.
Well, like,
Okay.
as you know, you can't have police everywhere. That's the
Of
problem.
course,
Yeah.
yeah.
You got to target it.
Yeah.
You
And
got to keep moving them around, and
Right, that's been a problem for a long time.
absolutely.
I agree. I can't agree with you more. Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you for coming up.
that's a good point.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Come on up.
Connie Witt. I've been a resident on Baptist Church Road for about 30 years now. I'd just like to say that I think that this is a very positive step. However, I think it's a very temporary step. Policemen have to prioritize where they are, what they do. We're all familiar with that. But I think that something much more serious has to be done, despite the fact that we're lowering the speed limit. For example, perhaps, I don't know, there are other things that we're looking at. There are other things I think that should be enforced for a few reasons. One, the demographics of the area has increased tremendously. Two, it's used as a shortcut to the Taconic and all other roads. Three, the increase in speed, the increase in traffic, et cetera, obviously. But the other thing is, the road goes from 13 feet to 23 or 24 feet. The road is circuitous. The road is filled with blind spots and curves. The road also, topographically, rises and falls. It is a real dangerous area. I can tell you without any reservation, myself, other residents on the road, and people who come there, if anybody comes to visit, I warn them to really secure and ride and hug the side of the road if they're going west, hug the side of the road if they're going east when they're leaving my residence, because I myself and the residents on the street, and it's becoming increasingly really a hazard and a threat to life, okay? Because people come through there and they speed, it's unbelievable. Now, you may say, well, we're trying to do something. I appreciate that, and I'm aware of that. However, we have increasing numbers of fatalities, accidents, and everything within the area. And it is because people have become less observant of rules, regulations, and the law. We do not have adequate, let's say, policemen or law enforcement agents really to service and be there all the time. And therefore, I just say that I'm appreciative of this, but I think that this has to go forward to a more severe, or let's say a more serious resolution, because I can tell you myself in the past, I'd say year and a half, I've seen, experienced, and, looked at accidents that have occurred at all hours of the day and night on Baptist Church Road.
Do you have any recommendations?
Yes, speed bumps.
Good. I know 7 on
Bumps or
Quinlan Street you
speed
can have.
We've got the speed humps
They don't want
are slated for Baldwin Road between the Taconic and Underhill, which would be along near where Baptist Church.
Too
Right.
much,
Goes
too
the road.
winding and
Goes
too
the grade.
Too winding and, well, unfortunately, to be
The
honest with you.
undulation of the topography is what the
Yeah, I
highway
think you can do
superintendent
We can only
is
put
saying.
those, I mean, we have a traffic engineer who looks at these roads, we don't just, put them in. And one of the things he's always, warned us about is the grade in the road when you're evaluating whether or not you can use them.
Right.
And, I mean, if you go to Allen Avenue, where we have speed humps, not speed tables, but speed humps, you'll notice that we put them on the flat part. I mean, you got the highway superintendent is here. He put them on, installed them on the flat sections of that road, and where you get a decrease in the grade, or a slope in the road, I should say, coming down Allen Avenue as you go in towards 118, they're not there. And that's because we've been warned about doing it on anywhere other than flats. So you got to be extraordinarily careful about where you put them. And Baptist Church Road, as you know better than me, you've been living there a long time, like you said, winding,
Snake.
undulating, hilly, you cannot put them on a road like that, generally speaking. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't something else that can be done. I'm not saying the only thing you can do is an area speed limit, but to put speed humps or even speed tables on that road, listen, a traffic engineer can take a look at it. I just don't know. It would be a big departure. I don't know if
Maybe
Eric
there's
wants to
something
comment on
else.
it.
Greater than a 7%
There you go. Okay. Eric, why don't you come on up, because that's an interesting point.
Thank you for your,
Unfortunately, with speed tables or speed humps, anything more than a 7% grade, you can't put them on. It's just the way it is laid out with the federal regulations on that. So unfortunately, that just definitely wouldn't work there. I mean, it's a great thought, but there's nowhere to even squeeze them in to make them come together, just the way the
Right.
road twists and turns, it just wouldn't work out.
There's no question that on our undersized roads, that many people who are unfamiliar with the roads decide to ride right down the middle of them,
Right.
and that generally becomes the problem.
And the other thing that we do...
And they drive too quickly.
And we get a tremendous amount of calls in the highway department to put a double yellow line on the center of the road. And I will tell you that they have proven fact, and I have the paperwork in the office. As soon as you put a double yellow line on a road, people have a tendency to travel faster
Right.
because they think it's like a
Yeah, I
speedway.
don't think you'd have enough, you don't have enough width anyway.
Yes, that's exactly why we did it, because as soon as
Well,
you
you
put
didn't
them
do it in
down,
New World, right?
as soon as you put them down, it gives a tendency for the people to
Yeah,
travel
we wouldn't have the
faster.
width anyway, right?
You don't have the width. But then again, but we get that. We get those calls, and it just
New
it
road
doesn't
is
come
like a
together.
snake.
Yeah, unfortunately, the only way about it, and we all know, is when it hits your pocketbook and, you start writing the tickets, and that's about the only way that it makes it come together. But, Baptist Church Road isn't the only road. We know, the town board knows, the amount of the traffic in town is incredible. We're going to be doing traffic study on Quinlan Street to see where our numbers are. I heard the numbers are way down. The people that live there are really saying it's a lot less. So we're going to see. But it's unfortunate, and the gentleman in the back of the room said it, and he said the true thing. Nobody knew Baptist Church was a cut-through until they did the bridge. Once they did the bridge on 129, everybody found it, and everybody continues
Well, I
to
want to
use
just
it.
say, what you're saying and what you said, ma'am, just a little bit ago,
Everyone
in
at
terms
Taconic
of
is back.
why we would consider an area speed limit is precisely that. We look at it on cut-through roads, and the volume on that road has obviously increased a lot. And one thing that you didn't mention that, is also important, if you hit that road in the wintertime, when there's ice on it, I mean,
When we hit that road in the wintertime, it's fun.
right, I'm just saying,
It's
so
a
there are any number of
cut-through road.
reasons to do it.
It's a cut-through road, although
Yeah.
I would venture to
how this
say
works
that
out.
many people, once they take it a few times, will still go 129 because it's shorter closures. That doesn't mean that happens all the time.
Right.
So it's a cut-through road, but interestingly enough, when you do enforcement, which we will do and the police department does do,
Right.
you tend to catch the people who live in the area the most.
That's what I was gonna say.
And
That is